Let's look back on your career over the past couple of years. Can you tell us a bit about it? Why did you switch clubs so frequently? And what's the journey been like so far?
The journey's been a bit mad, really. I'd say where I am now to the last, within the last 4 years, it's been like a big difference. In terms of changing club, it's always been about, trying to move on to somewhere better and obviously not staying where I am. Because I've always had a goal in mind that I'd like to reach as my career goes on. So that's definitely been my reason behind staying so short at clubs.
Can you tell us something interesting about some of the challenges you've had in particular over the past couple of years? Because we've seen such a rapid rise from where you were versus where you are right now.
My challenges would definitely be injuries. I've had a ton of injuries over my career, especially within my academy is at West Ham. Even after I left, I had some challenging injuries. But thankfully enough, the last 3 seasons I've been injury free, so I've been able to, really knuckle down and play football how I know to play, and I think that's resulted in my rapid rise.
So tell us, you've played with some really good players, you've played with some not so good players. Name one player that comes to mind as someone that you feel is definitely underrated.
I'd say, to be fair, I played with a lot of players. So many names come to mind. But I think in terms of players who are underrated, it would probably have to be within my time at non-league, because I think a lot of the players I was playing with there could have definitely played at a lot better teams, just obviously the footballing system being against them. I can't really bring one specific player to mind, but there's definitely a list that I could give you.
Not even one.
I can give you a top 5 players.
We can work with that.
So underrated players that I played with, I'd probably say Chris Sessignon, Elliot Buchanan, Nathan Cooper, can't think of the other 2, but I'd probably say them 3 for me have been definitely underrated players. They can definitely play at high levels.
And when you're in top form, what do you feel you can bring to a team, and how do you feel you are when you're in the form of your life as a player?
When I'm in top form and the form of my life, I think everything sort of clicks. I can bring almost anything to a team in terms of attacking abilities. Me being in top form normally comes down to obviously physicality and mood. I'm obviously inspired by a lot of things outside of football, so I normally bring my good mood with me into the stadium, so that definitely plays a big part.
Having said that, what drives you in the day-to-day? Players obviously play football for various reasons. What drives you? Is it finance? Is it just the determination to reach the highest level possible?
Determination to reach the highest level possible. I've always had a goal in mind in terms of where I'd like to play, and that definitely is what spurs me on from day to day. Even when I had my low periods in my career, I think that's definitely helped me keep playing and reach where I am now. And I've still got quite a way to go, but I'm getting there.
Recently, you've got named captain of your current club. Now, this is one we definitely want to hear about. What's the typical dressing room like? What's the morals like? We've noticed you have a bit of a winner's mentality, and we can tell that in the way you play. How's that responsibility been like for you, being captain for the first time in your career, and then second of all, how's it like obviously taking over a dressing room and putting your imprint on it?
I think it's great. I like that kind of responsibility. I think that helps drive me as well. Having the most responsibility on a pitch, especially amongst a team that is, they've got a good group of players, but sometimes they do need that guidance, and for that to fall on me is like a big thing. In terms of changing room morale, it's good. The change room's normally quite bubbly. We have like a great time before and after training. So, especially being a foreigner, for them to name me captain, I think was a big thing. So I was really pleased with that.
Who's the best player you ever played with? It could be from England, it could be in the club side.
Best players I played with at the time, or best players who have where they are now?
Best players you've played, both. Let's hear about both.
Okay, well, best players I've played with that are where they are now. There's quite a few. Raheem Sterling, Nathan Redmond, James Ward-Prowse, Nathaniel Chalobah. I played with all those guys when I played for England. In terms of club level, probably Ravel Morrison.
Wow, that's one we didn't see coming. We've heard so much about him and his talents.
All's true. All's definitely true.
Can you discuss a little bit about your time at West Ham? What would you have done? Would you have done anything differently now, looking back on it? And how would you say that experience was as a role?
Looking back at my time, do you know, I probably wouldn't say I would have done anything differently. I was going through a time in my career where injuries were literally at the forefront of everything I did. Even amongst those injuries, I still managed to make my first team debut and play a few games for the first team. So I definitely think that injuries played a massive part for me. But I'm glad I kind of went through what I went through then, because I think in terms of my mentality, they've helped me massively. I'm able to overcome any type of adversity that's been thrown my way in the last 5 to 6 years. So, and I think that's played a massive part in my growth. So I wouldn't really change anything. But my time at West Ham, I really did enjoy it. It was a really good youth system at the time. Met some really good people that I'm still in very good contact with. So, you know, it shaped me to be the player that I am today.
Having said all of that, would you be able to provide a bit of advice for any young players in the academy systems here in England and overseas as well?
I think it depends. It all depends on obviously a player's mindset in terms of why they're playing football. I think if you've definitely got a dream aside from making a load of money, definitely get out there and play football. Go on loan if you have to, you know, go abroad. Try not to stay in the England bubble, so to speak, because there's a lot more football outside of London that people don't realise.
What are some of the things you look for, and what are some of the things you're looking to achieve before the end of your career at this point in time?
Definitely one of them would be to play for Nigeria, and secondly, basically try and win as many medals as possible. Or awards as possible. I'd definitely like to finish my career with some personal accolades, definitely.
Are there any kind of aspirations you're looking to achieve? Like you said, awards, any particular competitions you want to achieve?
I wouldn't say, well, everybody likes to win the Champions League, but at the same time, you need to kind of be realistic. So obviously, depending where my career takes me, you know, win the league, best player in the league. If I could win a golden boot or two, that'd be great as well.
Outside of football, this is where it gets more interesting. Do you have any kind of business ventures you're into? Any projects you have that you've been working on?
I've kind of got a project that I've been working on. Probably start to kick off more maybe at the start of the year, but there's definitely some things that I'm working on behind the scenes to try and bring to life.
Any you don't mind sharing?
I'll keep this one close to the chest for now.
Okay. Let's talk about obviously representing Nigeria. considering where you've come from and where you are currently in your career, do you think that's a realistic objective, and is it something that you believe with the right circumstances you can achieve within the next couple of years?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think it's possible for me to do, but ultimately it comes down to me and what I do on the pitch, and hopefully if I'm replicating what I know how to do on a week in, week out basis, definitely I think it will capture the eyes of the right people, and hopefully they can get me an invite.
Let's talk about finance, because this is a big thing that people don't tend to talk about. Players and finance management.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's important for players, especially at a young age, to have someone looking after their finances for them? Or do you feel it's important for them to know the day-to-day of how to manage their money and how to invest it, especially once you start looking towards the end of your career?
I think finance management is important. I think at a young age you definitely need to have somebody there that's going to guide you and help you with your finances, because obviously a lot of young players, when they get their first kind of check, it's a big thing for them, so they normally do tend to spend it on things that they've wanted for a long while that they couldn't have afforded before. But in terms of in the longer run, it's definitely good to have someone there that's going to advise you on things to invest in, how to save, and how to do things the right way so you don't drive yourself into debt.
Do you remember what you did with your first paycheck?
Yep.
Your first professional paycheck?
Yep.
Tell us about it.
I walked into Louis Vuitton and I bought a bag.
Any regrets over that choice?
No, I still have it, but it was literally my whole paycheck, so my mum had to kind of look out for me for the rest of the month. She wasn't pleased, but yeah.
Your social media definitely says you're into fashion, art. Is this something that you've definitely looked to incorporate into your lifestyle over your career, or this is just like a newfound interest of yours?
No, it's always been a love of mine. If I can incorporate it into my career, that would be great. But definitely, it will start to be, people start to see more and more of it as I start to unveil a lot more sides to my social media.
Talking about that, any particular brand or styles that you're really big on?
I'm not really. I think all sorts of styles I'm into, really. You know, I'm quite big on fashion, so having good style is like part of my day-to-day life. It could be a thing of, I don't believe in brands make your style. I believe style is a big thing. You don't need to wear brands to have style. You can still come across very fashionable with just plain clothes. You just need to know how to wear them, so to speak.
We're not asking you to throw anyone under the bus here, but is there any best or worst dressed teammate that you have to tell us a bit of story? Is there any best or worst dressed teammate that you
You know what? I can't pinpoint a best dressed or worst dressed, but the style in Bosnia is definitely an acquired taste.
Okay. So it's not your conventional way of dressing?
No, definitely not, no.
Bright colours?
No, not bright colours, just a weird kind of style that I don't think looks very appealing. It's very, I don't know how to explain it, but it's okay, but it's not the style that I would choose, so to speak.
So, having said all of this, what are your thoughts on the future moving forward? We can have things such as maybe you're moving clubs, there's lots of rumors flying around. Are you looking to get married anytime soon? Kids? Maybe returning back to the UK?
Well, obviously, to move club is number one at the moment, so we'll see what that brings. In terms of other things, I would like to get married, I would like to have kids. The end goal for me would probably be to come back to the UK and kind of set up for the post-football part of my life, so that's definitely something that I look forward to.
We just want to dig a bit deeper What are your thoughts on the Black Lives Matter?
I think it's a movement that shouldn't. It's a movement that we shouldn't need, but we do need. It needs to be. There needs to be light shed on, obviously, inequalities with the black and white people. I think across the board we are treated very unfairly, and I'm glad that it's finally being brought to light on a larger scale where people can finally take notice and make a change, because change does need to be made in that aspect, definitely.
Do you feel athletes can do more to push it? Do you feel they hold more weight than the typical individual? Do you feel celebrities have more of an influence?
They definitely do, because day-to-day people do look up to celebrities, they follow them on social media, they take an interest in their lives. So I definitely think celebrities and sports players definitely have a role to play in pushing that. They definitely can do more and need to do more in their aspects, so to speak. But yeah, it would be good for athletes to kind of emphasize it a lot more on their social medias, and not just during the trend, as some people would call it, but after that as well. It needs to be pushed in day out.
Well, we can't thank you enough for coming on, Matthias, and it's been a real pleasure. We wish you all the best in your career, and it's been great having you behind the name.
Thank you.